The story takes us to the main square of a tribe with a pretty rustic old-school vibe. From a distance, we see a group of guys surrounding a girl, while one of them says she's still shaking. As we get a closer look, we realize she's a fox girl, and a guy tries to get handsy with her. All of a sudden, our protagonist wakes up, screaming for no one to touch him. Liuani gets up, confused, wondering who was yelling over there. Clutching his head, our hero complains about being dizzy and wonders where he is. At the same time, one of the guys gets ticked off, saying the girl bit him and yelling for them to take her out. Our protagonist is totally clueless about what's going on. Just then, he steps out of the hut and comes face to face with the strange men. One of them complains that the girl is just a slave and says it's no wonder Liuani hates her. Then the crowd starts to gossip, saying that Liuani is no saint either. Liuani then wonders if he's been transmigrated into a novel. He realizes the girl being mistreated is the female lead, Kufu. Then our boy remembers the novel's name was "The Villain's Heroines Are Obsessed with Me." When one of the guys turns and calls him Liuani, our protagonist finally puts two and two together. In that moment, it dawns on him like a bolt of lightning that he's the villain of the story. With that, the guy hands a club to our hero. He says the runaway slave has been caught, and now it's Liuani's turn to deal with her. The protagonist thinks to himself that the villain in the novel only lasted for 3 days, and that this is a total rip-off. A bright light appears. A massive pillar of energy descends from the sky. A floating sphere then appears and introduces itself as Du Ding, the plot system. The system explains that our boy's mission is to reform the villainesses so they fall in love with him. Liuani is shocked and asks if the system got the story wrong. Du Ding warns him that if a villainess's corruption value reaches 5 stars, it's going to be game over for him instantly. The system then alerts him that the female lead's corruption value is rising way too fast. One of the guys finds it odd that Liuani is just standing there and tells him to watch his performance. He strikes her. Our protagonist yells, asking what in the world he's doing. The guy is startled by the protagonist's shout. Liuani then steps in front of the girl and says he'd like to see who dares to bully her. Out of nowhere, a green-haired woman shows up with a smug tone. She seems surprised to see Liuani protecting Kufu. The system warns that the corruption value is rising even faster, and our hero can't figure out why. Liuani calls himself an idiot for not realizing that he is now Kufu's biggest enemy. With that in mind, he completely changes his strategy. Our protagonist says the girl is his and that no one has the right to interfere. The guys conclude that Liuani hasn't changed and is just being possessive. Our boy then tells everyone to stay away from her and threatens anyone who dares to touch her again. The fox girl finds this suspicious. Looks over at her. The girl is confused by his attitude and eyes him warily. He then tells her to hurry up and go back home while the system congratulates him. Our protagonist yells at her, asking if she thinks he's a patient man. The girl clutches a sharp rock in her hand. Kufu gets up and faces the protagonist with a look of distrust. Our hero and the fox girl turn and walk away, being watched from a distance. The mysterious green-haired woman comments that this Liuani is getting pretty interesting. Liuani acts like the original villain and threatens the girl, telling her to pick up the pace. The poor fox girl looks exhausted, barely able to stay on her feet. However, she suddenly stumbles and falls. Our hero thinks she's in a pitiful state and that he needs to save her somehow. Back at his place, our boy sits on his bed and talks to the system. He asks the system if there's a starter pack or something of the sort. The system complains that he only has 10 points but opens the item shop anyway. Liuani thinks that with so few points, he won't be able to buy anything useful. He then decides to buy a set of women's clothing that costs only 2 points. Our protagonist wonders why she hasn't woken up since it's been 3 days. Suddenly, Kufu begins to slowly open her eyes and the system happily announces that the fox girl is finally awake. Liuani is relieved to see that she's okay. He approaches with a bowl of food and tells her to drink up. All of a sudden, her corruption value starts to skyrocket, sending our hero into a panic. The corruption points are rising because she thinks there's poison in it. Liuani fakes a cough. He then continues the act and yells for Kufu to drink it all, or he'll make her swallow it himself. With that, the guy hands her the bowl and threatens to throw her out if she doesn't drink the medicine right away. Scared, the girl starts drinking the strange liquid, even though she thinks this is the end for her. After finishing, she asks what else he wants from her. The fox girl then thinks she's going to perish and that there's no way to survive. At this, she grows desperate and thinks it would be better to end things herself. Our hero realizes what she's planning and threatens her, saying not to even think about it. He leaves a plate full of food for her. As he leaves, a green snake watches her and questions him about the clothes and the food. The reptile then begins to glow and change shape while thinking about our boy. The snake transforms into a woman with green hair and a stunning figure. She remembers feeling something different about him, but thinks it's probably nothing. Other fox girls appear and call the woman Jenny to come pick some fruit. Jenny agrees and gives the other girls a wicked smile. Liuani asks the girl if she even deserves food. He says she looks like she's been digging through the trash and tells her to hurry up and change her clothes. The protagonist threatens her, saying that if she leaves a single crumb, he'll dump it all on her head. The corruption goes up by 1 point, and the system says she still thinks the food is poisoned. Our hero wonders just how badly the previous owner treated her. He picks up the chicken leg and says she doesn't deserve to eat it, then devours it himself. Our protagonist then leaves and locks the door, is surprised by his reaction. Suddenly, Fu leaps towards the food our hero left behind. She then starts to wolf down the chicken leg. Eating desperately, she gets emotional. She then starts to cry while continuing to eat, realizing there's no poison. The system happily announces that Ku Fu's corruption value has decreased for the first time. Our boy wonders how the body's previous owner could treat such a beautiful girl so horribly. He looks at his own reflection and complains about his dirty and unkempt appearance. The system explains that the original Liuani's description was very brief and that it doesn't remember it. Then, the system says the novel's character hadn't bathed in 3 months, which totally grosses our hero out. Liuani then accepts his defeat and asks if he can spend 1 point to buy some shower gel. Our boy accepts the deal, and the system hands over the bath items to him. He takes the opportunity to buy a first aid kit for 1 point to take care of the fox girl. The system informs him that all items from the shop can be used forever, which surprises our boy. Our protagonist asks the system if dinner has been delivered to Ku Fu yet. Believing she's already finished eating, he kicks the door to the room wide open. The fox girl gets spooked by him and stops eating. The protagonist wonders why she hasn't eaten yet, and the system reminds him that she's still injured. In a menacing tone, the protagonist scolds her, asking if she dares to leave leftovers. With a creepy smile, he says she'll remember what happens to those who leave leftovers. He gives her a terrifying stare, and she breaks out in a cold sweat, terrified of the protagonist. He sits down next to her while she eats the rest of the food in terror. Our hero then pulls something out of his pocket. Ku Fu believes he's found a new way to hurt her. He grabs her and dabs her leg with a cotton ball, and the poor girl thinks it's poison. Our protagonist thinks it's better for her to believe he's hurting her than for him to try and explain. The protagonist keeps taunting her while she's eating. Liuani then takes her hand and tends to her injuries, saying that all of her wounds are going to sting. Soon, he finishes treating her wounds. Our hero says he's done applying the medicine and that he's leaving. Ku Fu is surprised and realizes that what he put on her body was medicine. She hurries and yells for him to wait before he leaves the room and leaves her alone. She asks him if this isn't his room. Outside, our hero shivers from the cold and convinces himself that enduring the cold night will be worth it. He thinks that when she wakes up and sees her wounds healed, her corruption value will drop significantly. The system then explains that the score is divided into corruption and affection, and that he only has 7 points left. Our boy confidently says he doesn't need to worry, because he's sure to get a ton of points when Ku Fu wakes up. Suddenly, he hears a strange noise coming from the hut. Furious, he yells that she's an ungrateful backstabber. Liuani is angry that he didn't gain a single point even after helping the fox girl. Our hero gets lost in thought. He then complains about his own smell, and says the original owner of this body was a total slob. Our boy then compliments himself, saying that if he were clean and well-dressed, any woman would fall for him. With this idea, the protagonist decides to take a bath to improve his appearance. He then exchanges 1 point for a bath kit so he can finally get clean. The next day, Ku Fu wakes up to the sound of the door opening and is taken aback. Liuani appears at the door, all cleaned up and smelling great. Ku Fu is shocked by his sudden change and doesn't even recognize him. Our hero shows off and asks if she doesn't find him incredibly handsome and attractive. Suddenly, Ku Fu backs away in fear and her corruption begins to rise again. Our protagonist doesn't understand why the corruption points are going up. He then realizes that if a handsome stranger suddenly appeared, he'd be suspicious too. Yuani punches the wall. Our hero yells and asks why she's still wearing the same old rags. He continues his act and criticizes her for wearing old, dirty clothes. Protagonist grabs her by the shoulder. Lil Yuani thinks that she has some serious trauma and that it's going to be tough to help her. The fox girl looks at him with fear and suspicion. With that, our hero yells and tells her to hurry up and get changed already. She tries to say she needs to cook, but he cuts her off, saying her cooking is terrible. The protagonist throws her onto the bed and tells her not to cook anymore. Our boy then leaves, frustrated that he can't seem to gain any affection points. Peeks through the door, confused by his behavior. She looks at the new clothes he left on the bed. Ku Fu remembers how badly he used to treat her and how he suddenly changed. Ku Fu wonders why he didn't punish her and even gave her new, clean clothes. She looks at her hand and notices the wounds are better than before. Her conscience warns her not to be fooled into thinking he cares about her. The fox girl then convinces herself that he's just planning something worse for her. She clutches the red dress and convinces herself that she can't trust him. Our hero stops walking. Eliuani says that women like pretty clothes and that she'll cheer up and the points will go up. But the system informs him that her corruption value has gone up a little more, leaving him shocked. Our protagonist throws himself on the ground in frustration and says he's going to give up because she's impossible to deal with. Our hero then starts practicing his villain act, declaring that it's Ku Fu's unlucky day for running into him. He continues his charade, saying that if she serves him well, he'll grant her a quick and painless end so her suffering will be brief. Switching gears, our boy asks the system if his performance was cruel enough, and Doing confirms it was more than enough. Our MC explains that to stay in character, nobody knows the amount of effort he puts in behind the scenes. With that, Yuani and the system get all hyped up, shouting that they'll do whatever it takes to survive in this world. Back at his house, our hero yells that he's home and asks where everyone is, wondering where that fox girl has run off to again. Just then, Kufyu appears from behind a curtain, saying in a timid voice that she's right there and didn't run away. Our protagonist then starts walking menacingly toward her to keep up his cruel villain persona. Yuani scolds her, telling her to take a bath and change her clothes because she's embarrassing him by being so filthy. Kufyu kneels on the floor, terrified, and he complains about her gathering firewood, saying her wounds might reopen from the effort. Kufyu is left completely baffled by this, unsure how to react to our hero's strange behavior. Our boy then points to the fire and orders her to go get completely cleaned up for him without any backtalk, then feeds the firewood into the flames. Kufyu agrees but thinks she was foolish to believe he had changed and that he'll never truly be different. Next up, our boy starts preparing her bath with hot water. Then he tells her to hurry up and get in the bath. She gets embarrassed, but to stay in character, Yuani insults her, saying other girls are way prettier, which makes the system call him a weirdo. Our protagonist then yells at her to hurry up and get washed while Doing confirms he's being weird again. With no choice, Kufyu obeys and begins to undress to get into the bath. Carefully, Kufyu dips her foot into the hot water to test the temperature. Once in the water, Kufyu starts to wonder what he'll want from her tonight after all this. Outside, Yuani is freaking out because Kufyu alone is a handful, and he still has to deal with 6 more villainesses. He complains that he wanted to be a hero, not some simp, but the system cheers him up, saying he'll have 7 strong female warriors. With that, our MC gets a new surge of determination and says that being a simp is just part of the journey for the greater good. Later that night, Kufyu appears at the door and tells our boy that she's finished her bath, just as he ordered. When he turns and looks at her, our hero is left completely shocked and speechless. Kufyu appears in the new dress and shyly asks if this new outfit looks weird on her. Her face turns bright red as she waits for our protagonist's response, who remains silent, just observing her. Yuani says it's passable, but inside he's freaking out and already planning to buy her a bunch of other outfits. Kufyu doesn't understand his reaction and thinks he didn't like how it turned out, getting really sad about it. To keep up his act, our hero orders Kufyu to go to his room to watch over him while he sleeps, which surprises her. He then makes an over-the-top threat, saying that if she isn't there when he wakes up, he'll give her a severe punishment. With that, the two of them head to the room, and the system Doing announces that the act worked and her corruption has stopped growing. Our boy warns her not to mess with the buckets, because if she gets hurt again, he'll have to spend more money on her. Kufyu then understands that he's just afraid of spending money in case she gets hurt and sick again. But for some reason, she feels happy about it. Even though she thinks it's about the money, she understands his concern in the end. Kufyu cries with relief because even though her escape failed, her life isn't as hard as it used to be. At that moment, Doing informs him that her corruption has dropped significantly, earning him 10 points and unlocking the level 2 system shop. Our protagonist cries tears of joy and hugs the system, which congratulates him and says their plan is working. In that instant, a new determination sparks in Yuani's eyes as he sees his plan is finally paying off. He thinks that one day she'll understand that he's not the same person he was before, and that now, he just wants to see her happy and smiling. After a long day, our hero tries to relax in his bed to get some rest, but he quickly snaps his eyes open. And there he sees Kufyu in his bed, looking like she has other plans for the night. Blushing beet red, jumps out of bed and asks what she's doing. Kufyu replies that he was the one who told her to come sleep with him. He scrambles to his feet, flustered, while Kufyu is just confused by his reaction. Yuani denies everything and tries to stop his nosebleed to avoid total embarrassment. With the system warning him of the danger, he insults her to maintain his evil villain act. She then questions his attitude, since his actions seem to imply something else entirely. Our protagonist flips out and lectures her for getting the wrong idea. Angrily, he tells her to sleep on the bed while he takes the floor, far away. He then pushes her onto the bed, and she wonders if she's really allowed to sleep there. Our hero complains about the bed and says he's sleeping on the floor. Kufyu asks if they're still going to do anything, and he just tells her to shut up and go to sleep. With that, our boy lies down on the hard floor with just a single blanket. Just accepts it and lies down. However, she soon falls asleep, and for the first time, she feels safe and at peace. But during the night, Kufyu starts having a terrible nightmare. In her dream, she remembers a huge fire that destroyed her old village. Everyone was running desperately to escape the flames that consumed everything. Little Kufyu cried uncontrollably as she tried to escape that inferno. During her escape, she's hit by an arrow and falls to the ground, too weak to get up. Just like that, she's captured by 2 men who throw her into a cage to be sold. Kufyu suffered greatly, reliving all the pain and hardship she's been through. Back in the present, Kufyu thrashes in bed as a dark energy surrounds her. Our protagonist wakes up from the noise, and the system warns that it's hard to wake her up. He asks if Doing can see her dream, and the system says her corruption is just getting worse. The system then explains that she's from a noble bloodline but was sold as a slave. Our boy remembers that the trauma sealed away part of her powers and gently wipes away her tears. Liyuani then notices that the wound on Kufyu's leg still hasn't healed. With that, our protagonist grabs his first aid kit to treat her wound. He then applies some medicine to Kufyu's leg to speed up the healing process. Our hero watches Kufyu, who even in her sleep, can still feel the pain from the injury. In her dream, Kufyu feels a terrible pain and believes he's hurting her on purpose. She thinks this was all just a plan to get her to lower her guard, so he could attack her in her sleep. But with eyes full of hatred, she just wishes he would get it over with already. The pain is so intense that Kufyu complains even a pig would have woken up by now, so she tries to grab a piece of something sharp. Meanwhile, our hero has already finished treating her and is now sound asleep on the floor. Kufyu then wakes up full of rage and decides to get her revenge for him, torturing her. But before she can attack, she feels a strange itching coming from her wound. When she checks it, she's surprised to see the wound is now almost completely healed. At that moment, Kufyu realizes that the painful stuff he was putting on her was actually medicine. Understanding the truth, her affection value for him increases because he was only trying to help her. A new morning begins at our hero's house. But Doing wakes him up in a panic, yelling that something really bad has happened. The system then reveals that the original story's protagonist has also been transported to this world. Our boy panics because that so-called hero is the guy who used to mistreat Kufyu in the past. Doing also warns that with his skills, he'll blow past our hero's progress in no time. Liyuani complains that Kufyu alone is already a handful, and the system warns that if the other guy wins, they'll be erased. The system gets all worked up about the possibility being deleted by the main system. But our protagonist thinks for a moment and comes up with a brilliant idea to handle the situation. He explains that his strategy is working since he gained 30 points and the story has already changed. Full of confidence, Liyuani declares that the other guy will have to get through him first. Our hero then decides to play it cool and just keep an eye on this new rival who has appeared. Meanwhile, Kufyu hears him talking to himself and wonders who he's talking to. Lin walks over to Kufyu's bed. He gently pats her on the head and tells her to sleep well and wait for him. With that, our protagonist leaves the room to deal with his problems, leaving her to rest. Kufyu wakes up, confused, wondering what our hero meant by those kind words. Meanwhile, in a forest, our protagonist is already putting a new plan into action. He's thinking of bringing Kufyu here and staging a beast attack so he can save her heroically. But our boy suddenly stops, sensing that someone is watching him from nearby in the forest. Startled, he shouts for whoever is there to show themselves immediately and stop hiding. Cautiously, our hero approaches the bushes to find out who the mysterious spy is. Just then, a hand emerges from the bushes, and a voice asks him not to attack, saying they're from the same tribe. A green-haired wolf woman then appears and says his singing sounded like a wailing ghost. She recognizes him from the town square and asks if he's Liyuani, confirming his identity. Our embarrassed protagonist explains that he was just singing to pass the time and apologizes. The other girls comment that they heard he was ugly, but he's actually pretty cute. Our boy hears everything and gets all proud and happy with their compliments. The green-haired woman says he's changed a lot and seems like a completely different person. Our hero then seizes the moment and asks for the three girls' names. They introduce themselves and Xiaoyuan offers him a watermelon. Our protagonist tries to refuse the watermelon, saying he absolutely can't accept the gift. But Xiaoyuan insists, saying they got a bunch of them from the mountain and that he should try some. She then suggests he take some for Kufyu to try too, which catches him by surprise. Our hero activates his villain mode and says Kufyu is not worthy of tasting it, and Doing praises him for his acting. With that, Xiaoyuan calls her friends, and they decide it's time for them to leave. As she says goodbye, Xiaoyuan gives our protagonist one last smile before leaving with the others. Our boy then waves goodbye to them as they walk away. Alone again, he's lost in thought after this unexpected encounter with the girls in the forest. Liyuani asks the system if there was ever a character named Xiaoyuan in the original story. Doing says no, and that his charisma must have attracted other girls, and our hero gets all smug about it. Back in the kitchen, our hero complains that preparing a meal is always a pain. He realizes the flint box is empty and wonders how he's going to light the firewood now. So Liyuani asks Doing for help and wonders if he has a lighter he can borrow. The system grants his request, giving him a lighter in exchange for a single, measly system point. With a confident smirk, our protagonist gets ready to show off the great invention of the new era. Just then, Kufyu appears and asks if he's in the kitchen, which completely startles him. Trying to keep his cool, our hero confirms he's there while accidentally stepping on the lighter on the floor. But he quickly changes his tune and rudely asks what she wants. Kufyu timidly replies that she came to cook their meal. Liyuani tells her to get cooking, that he's just practicing how to make a fire without any help. That he starts rubbing a stick against a piece of wood, trying to create a spark. breaking into a cold sweat. He thinks that making a fire this way is super hard and hopes he doesn't embarrass himself in front of her. Seeing his struggle, Kufyu offers to help him and asks him to let her try. With a simple gesture, Kufyu uses her magic and creates a flame at her fingertips. Just like that, the firewood catches fire, and our protagonist is amazed at how incredible she is. He explains that although her strength hasn't fully recovered yet, she can still summon a small spark of fire without much effort. Our protagonist is thrilled and gets excited seeing real magic for the first time. Curious, he asks if she needs any hand gestures or incantations to use her magic. Kufyu explains that she doesn't, and that she just needs to concentrate her power and sync it with her will. Yuani is surprised and asks if she doesn't burn her fingers doing that. With a confused look, she simply replies that no, she never gets burned by the fire. Our hero then fires off a ton of questions about how to learn it and the cost of the skill. Kufyu is totally lost and doesn't understand a word he's saying because he's talking so fast. Suddenly, she starts blushing and begins to think our protagonist is kind of cute. But she quickly scolds herself for thinking that, remembering all the bad things he's done to her. Kufyu tries to remember how he used to treat her so she won't fall for his act. Meanwhile, our hero asks the system how to concentrate energy to use magic. Kufyu thinks that he's been acting differently, and the system offers to trade points for skills. She remembers he took care of her, and Yuani asks what skills he can buy now. Our hero complains that the ability to see just 10 seconds into the future is completely useless. Doing informs him that the skills can be upgraded. But our boy thinks it's too expensive and decides to put it off. In the meantime, Kufyu watches our protagonist and thinks that he's different now. With that, Kufyu continues cooking while thinking about his recent actions. She then realizes that he's quite handsome and smells nice, too. Our protagonist notices she's distracted and worries that her corruption might increase again. He quickly comes up with a brilliant idea to fix the situation and get her attention. So he grabs the watermelon he got earlier and shows it to Kufyu to distract her. Kufyu is surprised by the fruit and asks where he got that melon. He explains that he met a girl from the same tribe who gave him the fruit as a gift. Full of jealousy, she thinks that because he's handsome now, he just goes out and gets melons from other girls. Our hero says that women like fruit, and that she can have it since he doesn't like sweets. Angrily, Kufyu refuses the gift and says she doesn't want the watermelon at all. Keeping up his act, he asks if she really thinks she can refuse something he gives her and leaves the fruit on the table. Finally, he complains about the kitchen and leaves, telling her to prepare a decent meal for him. Outside, our hero asks the system if he was quick enough and if the situation is under control. But Doing warns that it detected a huge emotional fluctuation from Kufyu, but it's not corruption. Our protagonist is relieved by this while the system tries to figure out what this new emotion is. Meanwhile, Kufyu is dying of jealousy and complains that he accepts gifts from just anyone while glaring at the watermelon with a murderous look. Inside the house, our hero looks at the system screen with a grim face, not knowing what to do. Then he freaks out when he sees he only has 46 points and complains that there's no way he can improve like this. But Doing calms him down, saying that the 7 villainesses will show up soon, and then the points will come easily. Our protagonist gets excited about the idea and thinks that if he wins them all over at once, the points will double. With that, our hero starts imagining all 7 corrupted girls and gets all giddy with the idea. But reality hits, and he remembers that Kufyu alone is a lot of work, and dealing with 7 would be insane. Then, in the tribe square, a man makes an announcement to all the locals. The elder explains that the men will go hunting while the women will harvest cotton under the watch of the warriors. Just then, our boy scans the crowd for Kufyu and quickly finds her among the other slaves. Kufyu doesn't look like she's in a very good mood. Yuani tries to get her attention and gives her a charming little wink to tease her. But to his surprise, Kufyu turns her head and completely ignores him, leaving him totally shocked by her attitude. Our hero can't believe it and complains that he just gave her a watermelon yesterday, and now this is how he's treated. Watching everyone leave, he wonders how much longer he'll have to keep pretending to be a big, bad villain. Finally, our protagonist complains that winning over women in real life is way harder than it is in the novels. 5 days pass and our hero waits in the square, demanding an explanation for Kufyu's disappearance. The tribe's elder tells him to go away and says he's already sent someone, but Yuani wants to know what they found out. The leader calls for the guards. One of the guards approaches, and the elder asks what happened to our hero's slave, who didn't come back. The man explains that Kufyu didn't get along with the others, so she was working alone in a corner. He continues, saying he heard from other slaves that she was taken by someone from the dark tribe. Furiously, Yuani grabs him by the collar and yells at him for not doing his job of protecting her. The guard defends himself, saying she's just a slave, and that if she's gone, our hero can just buy another one. Filled with rage, Yuani can't take it anymore and tries to punch the guard in the face, calling him useless for his incompetence. But the man manages to block the punch. The two of them then start wrestling on the ground while the crowd around them comments that without Kufyu, he'll be worthless and can't afford another slave. Then the two of them stop fighting. He then backs away and declares for everyone to hear that Kufyu was taken, not just eliminated. With a look full of determination, our protagonist swears that he will definitely rescue her. Then he turns and leaves while the others mock him for acting like a king over a mere slave. Back at his house, the system points out that even with the changes, the fact that Kufyu gets captured didn't change. Doing explains that if they rescue her before the original hero does, they'll have the advantage, and our boy agrees. Then we see the city gate, where another pair of reincarnated individuals are discussing their plans. The original protagonist asks his system about the other system he detected in this world. The hero's system, named Shuai Ding, replies that it can't locate the other enemy system at the moment. Shi Tianrui comments that Kufyu's master should have passed on but is still alive and wonders if he's the other user. His system calms him down, saying he's just an extra and that the main story still revolves around him. With a confident smile, the hero says he will rescue Kufyu and turn her into a gentle little lamb. The system agrees, saying that because Li Yuani mistreats her, he's indirectly helping him win her over. Meanwhile, our protagonist suddenly sneezes and wonders who's talking smack about him behind his back. Kufyu is now a prisoner of the Shadow Tribe, a cursed group that's been abandoned by everyone. These people are shunned by all other groups and forced to wander eternally in the dark. That said, one of the girls complains that she's starving while staring down the new prisoner. Meanwhile, Kufyu is still chained up with zero chance of escape. The hungry woman says she can't take it anymore and looks at Kufyu with a wicked little smile. Holding a knife, she gets closer, asking to just slice off a little piece of the young girl. But the leader of the pack stops her, telling her to chill out and endure the hunger for a little while longer. The purple-haired woman takes the knife and remarks that the prisoner they nabbed is actually quite beautiful. She then brings the blade to Kufyu's neck, who just stares back at her with a dead, serious look. The knife even touches the girl's skin, but she doesn't show a single ounce of fear. The leader says it would be a waste to use a knife on a body as delicate as hers. We see the sharp blade resting against her skin as she remains completely motionless. The woman leans in to smell Kufyu, saying she hasn't smelled a perfume that nice in many years. She seems to be reminded of her past. Right after that, the leader starts laughing like a classic villain. Even while being mistreated, she shows her unwavering resolve. The tribe's elder warns him that the Shadow Tribe always prowls around the city, and going out alone is just plain insane. But our hero couldn't care less and says he doesn't need help from the very warriors he just defeated himself. So the leader asks why he would risk so much for Kufyu, since he didn't even like her in the first place. Our guy then answers with conviction that he has a very good reason for needing to save the girl. Suspicious, the elder asks him to share what this supposedly important reason is. In his head, our MC's main character thinks he needs a really selfish excuse to maintain his whole villain persona. With a smirk, he says Kufyu is his slave and his reputation would be trashed if anything happened to her. The elder gets ticked off at his attitude, and our hero replies that his honor is worth more than anything. Then Li Yuani shoves the man, telling him to stay out of it, and threatens him again. The leader holds him back and offers him a new slave, since he was friends with his father, but our boy refuses. Our MC is surprised by this, not expecting the elder to be so kind to him. Ignoring the warning, he turns and leaves the village, followed by the Doing system floating by his side. Alone, he walks through a dark and desolate land to find the Shadow Tribe's hideout. At that moment, our hero feels a shiver run down his spine as he senses the danger surrounding him in this place. The Doing system screams in fear, asking, "Who's there?" putting our hero on high alert. Our guy gets tense and looks around, trying to figure out where the threat came from. Seeing this, the system suggests he buy the Danger Premonition skill to protect himself. But Li Yuani complains that 45 points is way too expensive and that he'll be left with nothing. He tries to haggle for a discount, but a shadowy presence suddenly appears, cutting him off. Just then, our MC is attacked by several shadows and yells out in surprise. Under the moonlight, the only thing we see are a few red drops floating through the air. Our hero suddenly wakes up, complaining about a drip and asking which of his dorm mates is gonna go check it out. But then it hits him that something is very, very wrong. Sitting in a dark, unfamiliar place, our boy wonders just where the heck he is. In a panic, the MC starts screaming for his system, hoping for some kind of help. And then the system pops up, congratulating the guy because he's been captured by the story's second villain. Doing then gives him a heads up that the girl is on her way and tries to brace our hero for whatever's. Freaking out, the guy starts looking for an exit, but complains there isn't even a tiny door to slip through. Suddenly, Tyoshi hears a noise and senses that the woman is running towards him. And out of nowhere, a mysterious woman emerges from the darkness and throws herself right at our hero. Upon seeing the new waifu, the guy is blown away by her beauty and thinks, "Yeah, I could get used to this." The girl starts caressing his face, and our boy asks why she's being so gentle if she's supposed to be a villainess. The young woman then says he woke up just in time and tells him she wants to have his baby. This unexpected proposal leaves our protagonist completely stunned and utterly confused. Without wasting any time, the woman starts getting ready for what she has in mind for our. Desperate, Tsuyoshi backs away, saying that for something like that, you need the right place and the right. Trying to weasel his way out, the guy suggests they get to know each other better first, all while worrying about the risk of Kufyu showing up. At that moment, the system warns him that the girl's corruption level has started to skyrocket. Our hero realizes he has yet another problematic villainess to deal with now. The woman throws him back on the ground. He then tries to calm her down, saying he knows a thing or two about this and that she should just hear him out for a second. The young woman stares at him and asks if he really has experience with the kind of thing she wants. Tsuyoshi makes up that it's a technical skill, and they should learn the theory first. But she says she wants to skip straight to the practical part, since her parents were only together for one night and they had her. Startled by her answer, our hero is forcefully pushed to the ground by the girl. She then asks if he has any siblings and why she's an only child. The villainess gets lost in thought, starting to wonder why her parents only had one. He explains that everything needs to be perfect and cries internally, thinking the mission will fail if Kufyu shows up. The system confirms this, stating that in the beginning, none of the villainesses can know about the others. The young woman gets closer and asks him to explain what the right time and place would be. The guy then asks if her parents loved each other, and the woman confirms they were very much in love. He explains that only people in love can have children, and since they just met, they should fall for each other first. And he invents that with feelings, a man becomes supercharged with vigor. The woman gets excited by his explanation and says she knew she'd picked the right person because he knows so much. She then moves closer, determined to have a piece of our protagonist for herself. Our hero gets all flustered. He asks if she didn't hear a word he said, but the woman just confesses that she likes him. The girl reveals she started liking him when she saw him protecting the slaves, and he's shocked to learn she saw him with Kufyu. The doing system gets confused by the situation, wondering what on earth is going on here. She explains that it's okay if he likes her less, because she'll just like him twice as much, and it'll all balance out in the end. Suddenly, a dark reddish energy starts to radiate from the new waifu's body. This energy traps the guy, who screams in fear, asking what the girl is doing to him. The woman then starts preparing for action, showing she has other plans. With a mischievous grin, she says they'll do what he said and tells him to start teaching her already. The woman lunges at him and gets ready to do what she wants with our hero. She's clearly enjoying this situation a whole lot. With that, the girl continues her advances on the completely immobilized guy. All embarrassed, he says it's not right for her to be so aggressive and asks if they can switch. The girl notices he blushed and says her mom taught her that means he's in love. In a panic, our hero thinks he's a goner, because he didn't expect to enjoy this particular point of view. The villainess asks if he's shy and promises she'll be gentle. Suddenly, the protagonist's nose starts having a little pressure issue. He tries to push her away, saying he doesn't need gentleness and that his primordial power is about to be unleashed. Ignoring everything, the woman whispers in his ear, complimenting how warm his body is. She moves in for a kiss, and he wonders if this girl is really a villainess who needs to be won over. The doing system appears, warning our hero not to be fooled by appearances. But the look on the guy's face shows he has completely given in to the situation. The woman then continues with her plan to get what she so desperately wants from our hero. She explains that her mother taught her the best moment is in the heat of passion, and says she's sure she'll be able to complete her objective tonight. Our hero gets all red, thinking that she actually knows way more about this subject than he does. She challenges him, saying if he's a real man, he'll last longer than 30 seconds, and a countdown begins. The woman then continues with her advances and teasing. In complete desperation, our protagonist feels like he's losing control of the situation. Unable to take it anymore, the guy decides to give in, saying he's about to do something illegal. With that, the two of them get down to business, and the unexpected happens. But the doing system warns him that if he has a child with her, she'll lock him up until the baby is born. On top of that, the system asks how he's supposed to complete his mission, which is like a splash of cold water for our hero. He pulls away and tries to explain that what is too rigid breaks easily, and that she'll have to take responsibility. The villainess is completely baffled by his words and doesn't understand a thing he just said. Doing says it knows it stinks not being able to do anything, but he needs to think about the consequences. The system reminds him that Kufyu is waiting for him, and the guy finally snaps out of it, saying he'll think. The woman backs off a little and asks if she bit him too hard. Desperate, our hero wonders what he can do to stop her since she's so determined. Suddenly, our hero remembers something very important that could get him out of this jam. He recalls that her tribe absorbs their partner's energy, and if he doesn't eat first, it's game over. With that in mind, the guy desperately yells that he's starving and wants to eat. The woman is shocked and apologizes for forgetting to feed him, almost causing his demise. The guy smiles victoriously, and the doing system congratulates him on his absolutely brilliant idea. The villainess then gets up and tells him to wait there, while she goes hunt something for him to eat. And just like that, the girl vanishes from the cave in the blink of an eye to get food for her beloved. He thinks about escaping, but Doing warns that if she comes back and he's not there, he's a goner. In despair, the protagonist says he's doomed if he runs and doomed if he stays. So he sits down with the system and asks for help finding a weak spot in the villainess's past. In the forest, the woman finds a massive tiger and immediately prepares for combat. The wild beast roars and lunges at the girl, but she isn't even fazed by the animal's attack. With a single punch, the young woman shows off her absurd strength and takes down the creature that attacked. She then breaks off a tree branch and says she has no time to waste and needs to get back quickly to feed the man she. The woman returns with the tiger and asks which part of the animal he'd prefer to eat. But suddenly, she notices something. Yuani is just chillin', fishing by a river. But little does our hero know, 3 women are hiding nearby, watching him. All of a sudden, our boy hooks a fish and yanks it out of the water. But he hears some whispering and wonders what on earth they're talking about. And the doing system translates that they're discussing how tasty he is. Doing also warns him that they've got their eyes on him and won't give up that easily. So our hero plays it cool and says that one fish isn't enough for dinner. He pretends he's going to catch another one, but he actually snags the fish off the ground. Right after, Yuani scrambles to his feet and starts running as fast as he can, clutching his fishy friend. The trio of women starts chasing him through the forest as he makes a run for it with the fish. He then thinks that he needs to rack up points to trade for skills, or he's totally toast. Doing warns him that they're getting closer, now just 13 steps away. Yuani starts to panic because the dark forest is no place for humans. And in the middle of the chaos, our MC trips and face plants right on the ground. Now that he's down, the trio is just 9 steps away from our protagonist. On the ground, Yuani starts to despair, thinking this is the end of the line for him. He tries to get up while Doing continues the countdown of their approaching steps. The distance closes rapidly to just 3 steps, leaving our hero terrified. Suddenly, he hears a slicing sound and wonders if the scythe got him. Our protagonist is so scared he doesn't even dare to look down to see what happened. Then, the Doing system tells him to just turn his head and check out the situation. Very cautiously, our guy slowly turns his neck to see. And what he sees are the 3 women on the ground, but without their heads. But right after, a mysterious shadow appears behind the women's bodies. It's a woman with black hair and red eyes, and she asks why he left the cave. Doing alerts him that her emotions are a total mess, and she's gonna lose it in 3 seconds. The woman's hand starts dripping with the girl's blood as her claws become visible. She then says she has no other choice, and a countdown begins. But when it hits 2, our protagonist runs and gives her a hug. The woman is left completely speechless and surprised. The unexpected hug makes the girl blush deeply, her eyes sparkling. Our hero then thanks her for arriving in time to save him, and she asks why. Yuani shows her the fish he caught and says it was especially for her. She gets all shy and asks if the fish is really for her. Our protagonist says he's a man and can't just live off of her. He should be the one taking care of her. The girl then realizes he wasn't running away, but was actually hunting for her, and he confirms it. She hugs him again and apologizes for misunderstanding, calling him the best man in the world. Back in the cave, she takes out a tiger and promises she'll protect our hero. Meanwhile, our guy sits at a table thinking that if he had run, he would have met the same fate as the tiger currently being carved up. The girl then offers him a piece of raw meat, but he's terrified and just wants to go home. With a trembling hand, our protagonist hesitates to take the piece of meat. She then tells him to eat up, because after dinner, they're going to mate. Yuani breaks into a sweat and says there's no way he's eating raw meat. The woman gets furious because to her, not eating the meat means he doesn't want to mate. He then says he really wants to mate, but eating raw meat will make him sick and ruin the whole mood. The girl gets suspicious and asks if it's true that people from the wolf tribe don't eat raw meat. Our hero then swears that if she gives him some time to cook it, they will absolutely mate right after. He makes up a story that his tribe stopped eating raw meat and asks her to crush a rock. She seems to go along with the idea. So she starts shaping the rock into a pan while our guy brings over a bowl. Yuani fills the stone pan with water from a waterfall inside the cave. Our protagonist then asks the system if the seasoning for cooked meat is any good, and Doing shows him a packet of seasoning for cooked meat that costs 1 point. Meanwhile, the woman returns with a pile of firewood, looking very impatient. He asks for help to deal with the fish, but all she wants to know is when they're going to mate. Our hero then places the stone pan on top of other rocks to make a makeshift stove. The girl sits on the ground and asks again if it's ready yet. He replies that it's almost ready and assures her it'll be quick. MC pulls a lighter out of thin air to start the fire. And he uses the lighter to ignite the firewood under the stone pan. Seeing the flame, the girl is completely shocked, her eyes wide. She then gets spooked and jumps back, scared of the fire that was just lit. Meanwhile, our hero is happily singing while stirring the pan with a leaf. But Doing tells him to stop singing and look at Deng Tingshuang, who has a sinister vibe going on. She's sitting there, trembling with fear and with a not-so-friendly look on her face. Our protagonist gets confused and starts sweating bullets, not understanding a thing. She then accuses him of doing all of this just to light a fire and finish her off. The smoke makes her cough, and she seems to be feeling really sick. It then dawns on our hero that she's actually afraid of fire. She thinks his excuse about not eating raw meat was all a lie. She accuses him of trying to take her out, and he thinks she's just imagined some big betrayal drama. Tingshuang gets up and walks toward him with a dark aura. but our protagonist grabs her hand firmly before she can do anything. He pulls her close and explains that the fire is the only way to cook the meat in the pan. With the fire lit in his explanation, she seems to calm down a bit. He then touches her face and adds that the cave is also brighter, so he can see her beautiful face. She wonders if he really doesn't want to get rid of her as they walk hand in hand. Our hero asks her to sit down and rest obediently if she doesn't like the fire. Liuani then grabs a few twigs that were nearby to use. He picks two and jokes that they're the prettiest ones to be the chopsticks. After a while, the fish stew in the stone pan is finally ready. Our protagonist then explains that she should start with the belly of the fish, but Ting Shuang holds the chopsticks all crooked and looks confused. She tries to pick up the food but can't, only managing to poke at the sauce on the plate. Our guy then says that's not how you hold them and that he'll teach her. Her hand shows she has absolutely no practice with chopsticks. He hugs her from behind and guides her hand, showing her the correct finger position. Liuani helps her pick up a piece of fish and asks her to try it. She then brings the piece of fish to her mouth and tastes the food. Ting Shuang finds it delicious, and he says that if she likes it, he'll make it for her more often. Doing then announces that Ting Shuang's affection has gone up by 1/2 point, and he's earned 30 points. Our hero is thrilled, saying he's loaded now and asks to trade for a danger premonition skill. The system confirms the request and loads the danger premonition module for 45 points. Right after, our protagonist asks Doing to sing Ting Shuang's information again. Doing complies, and our guy closes his eyes to receive the information about her past. He discovers she's a half-breed of the dark tribe and human, and was orphaned at a very young age. The poor girl cried a lot, calling for her parents after they were gone. Being a half-breed, she wasn't accepted by either side and nearly starved to the point of no return several times. This tough childhood made her eat anything she could find and act purely on survival instinct. That's why when she grew up, her greatest desire became reproduction, and she asks him why he's crying. Our protagonist is super moved and says her story is just so tragic. He wipes away his tears, but with a very determined look on his face. Liuani hugs her tightly and promises she'll never have to wander alone again. Ting Shuang accepts the hug and seems very happy and flustered by his gesture. And with that, her affection goes up by another point, and he gets a 60-point reward. Our MC then thinks this mission is a piece of cake while hugging Ting Shuang. Meanwhile, we see the tribe's square at night. There, Kufu is arguing with some men who say they've already sent people to look for Liuani. But with eyes red with anger, she accuses them of hurting her master on purpose. Suddenly, a stranger appears in the doorway of a house, watching the commotion. He thinks the whole story is wrong because he was supposed to save Kufu, not have her return alone. Back in the cave, Ting Shuang is holding onto our hero's arms tightly. She climbs on top of him and reminds him of his promise to mate after eating. And with a love-struck look, she says she wants to have lots of children with him. Liuani then asks if she wants their children to suffer the same prejudice she did. His words hit her hard, and she stops to think about it. She then gets up and asks suspiciously how he knows about her past. Our hero explains that the dark tribe can't reproduce and concludes that she must be a half-breed. Ting Shuang then admits she knows about the world's prejudice and stands up. Finally, she says she's going to step out to cool down, and that they won't be mating for now. Ting Shuang then leaves the cave to calm herself. Liuani breathes a sigh of relief for managing to stabilize her, but Doing pops up, furious, saying they have a major problem back home. Our hero asks what it is, and the system explains that Kufu's corruption value is skyrocketing and about to hit the limit. He then panics, complaining about why Doing didn't warn him sooner, and tells it they need to go back immediately. Doing warns him it's too late to walk back and will teleport him instead, and our protagonist yells for it to be quick. However, the system gets a bit awkward and says the teleport function has a special requirement. And the requirement is 50 points, which makes Liuani furious, but Doing defends itself, saying it's a rule from the main system. Fuming, our protagonist grits his teeth and agrees to buy the teleport. Back at the tribe, our hero and the system finally arrive after a long journey. Doing announces their arrival while Liuani checks out the situation with a serious look. He then freaks out when he sees a huge crowd gathered in the main square. Wasting no time, Liuani runs toward everyone, shouting that he's back. There, he finds Kufu holding a completely beat-up warrior by the collar. Our protagonist yells her name, confirming he's back and okay. Kufu is totally shocked to see him and ends up letting the man go. The system then informs him that her corruption value has decreased, leaving him confused. The angry bearded guy questions Liuani about his slave's rebellious behavior, but our hero confronts him, saying his warriors are weak and useless. He even throws it in the guy's face that the warriors were completely useless when he was taken. With that settled, he takes Kufu's hand and says they should go home. The men just stand there while Kufu looks at him, her face blushing. Their hands join together affectionately. Doing announces her affection has increased, and our boy earned 60 points. From a distance, the story's original protagonist watches and complains that our hero wasn't eliminated. The rival system assures him that the story is authentic and tells him to chill out. Side character then decides to ignore the plot and go after another girl in the forest. Meanwhile, night falls over the village, bringing a mysterious vibe. Up in a tree, Johnny wonders how Liuani escaped from the dark tribe. The serpent then begins to transform, revealing her beautiful legs. Janny can't understand how such a useless master pulled off such a feat. Back in the square, the bearded man furiously shouts that the kidnapping was a big fat lie. He accuses Liuani of hiding and vows to never care about him again. Later at Liuani's house, the mood between him and Kufyu gets a little tense. The two stare at each other in silence as Kufyu turns bright red. Sitting at the table, she wonders why our protagonist is staring at her like that. Liuani then reaches out and touches her shoulder. At this, Kufyu gets surprised and flustered by his touch and quickly stands up. Liuani asks why she's getting nervous again since they were just getting along. All embarrassed, Kufyu says it's nothing and offers to cook for him. Our hero wonders if she's mad, but Doing reveals that her affection is rising. With a smile, he realizes she might be into him and decides to change his strategy. But suddenly, the Doing system starts flashing desperately, issuing a warning. Doing warns that the other villainess returned to the cave, and her corruption skyrocketed when she didn't see him. Frustrated, Liyuan complains about the author's rule that prevents the villainesses from meeting each other. He gets ticked off about having 7 girls who can't see each other and questions the system about it. So, he decides to talk to Kufyu first before she also gets corrupted by his disappearance. Meanwhile, in the cave, the other villainess is furious, thinking he lied to her to escape. Alone in the empty cave, she feels completely betrayed by our protagonist. She swears he can't escape as a dark and dangerous aura surrounds her. Suddenly, she hears his voice calling her name and asking what happened. Ting Ting turns around, surprised to realize he actually came back to the cave. Liuani appears and shows her a gift he bought with 3 system points. Ting Ting stares at him, still in shock. Without hesitation, Ting Ting lunges at our hero, who is completely stunned by her action. She quickly tackles him, making them both fall to the ground. With a flushed face, she declares she can't wait any longer and wants to have his baby right now. With her face flushed, she declares that she just can't wait anymore. At that moment, Doing warns that our protagonist can't give in, because if she gets pregnant, he won't be able to escape. The system then gives him a yes or no option, but our hero refuses instantly. He then makes up an excuse, saying their races are different and that it's dangerous. Ting Ting gets confused and wonders how that could possibly be dangerous. With that, Liuani says he needs to understand her body structure and asks if she trusts him. Looking all cute, Ting Ting replies that she trusts our protagonist completely. He then thinks he needs to tire her out with an appetizer to keep the situation under control. Liuani tells her to relax because he's going to check her body structure, and she agrees. At that moment, he begins the procedure, and his little hand starts sneaking around her body, surprising her. Ting Ting asks what that is, but he just replies that it's only the beginning. Then our hero's hand starts moving strategically. The girl gets all red from the situation and hugs him very tightly. Our protagonist then realizes that a well-developed body is very sensitive to the touch. With Ting Ting in his arms, he carries her and says they're heading to the nest. She agrees, trembling a little as our hero holds her firmly in his arms. He then places her on the bed and asks if she wants to continue, and Ting Ting says it feels good. With that, our boy continues the process, leaving the girl more and more out of breath. After a while, our hero looks pretty tired and a bit messy after their little jam session. The system congratulates him because the girl got so tired that she fell into a deep sleep. Doing also reports that her corruption has decreased, and he earned 30 points as a reward. Our protagonist says with relief that all his effort was finally worth it. But he's so exhausted that he passes out on the bed and says he needs to rest for a bit. Meanwhile, back in the tribe, night falls on our hero's house. Kufyu seems a little uneasy. Her hands are trembling all on their own. Is having bad flashbacks that are haunting her. With different look in her eyes, she realizes her strength seems to have increased somehow. Farani wonders how Liao Yuani disappeared if he left the tribe again. She finds this whole situation very strange. Johnny finds this whole situation very interesting and continues to watch with a smile. Our hero lights a fire. Ting Ting wakes up a little confused and wonders what happened. Our boy explains that she was tired and fell asleep and asks if she's rested. The girl then hugs him happily and says she would never abandon him, but asks if he's leaving. He confirms he has to go back to the tribe because his friends are worried. Our hero calms her down, saying she knows where he lives, so he can't run away. He then asks if she liked what he did, and if she wants a little more. Ting Ting immediately confirms, so he asks her to let him go back for a while. Our protagonist even swears he won't run away, putting on a cute face to convince her. Ting Ting looks away sadly but seems to agree. She says she'll let him go on one condition: he has to let her mark him first. Ting Ting explains that with the mark, she can track him at any time and have peace of mind. Our hero is confused and asks how she would make this so-called mark on him. Without a second thought, Ting Ting moves in to bite his neck.